technical difficulties. This is the first webinar that Karen and myself have done, so we are finding our feet. Welcome everyone. This is Social Media Unlocked with myself, Pete Wilkinson. I'm the handsome chap on the left, and Karen James is the lady who on the right, who is standing at the top of her staircase with a plant. I didn't make your house look like that, but never mind. So this is the Social Media Unlocked, and really we've got 60 minutes to ask Karen. I've got 7 very good questions, and hopefully Karen's going to answer these, and I'm sure that when she answers them, it will make things a lot clearer about social media and what people can do to become more effective with social media. So if we get right into it straight away, Karen, why is social media so important to our listeners to achieving greater success?
Well, Pete, social media has become hugely popular over the last few years. There are now 800 million active users on Facebook. Twitter has got 100 million active users. Over 3 billion videos are viewed on YouTube every day. And LinkedIn, which is the professional business social media site, has 135 million users. So you can probably guarantee that your customers are using one of them.
Right.
Word of mouth marketing has always been one of the best methods of getting new customers. Before the internet, if a customer was happy with your product or service, he would recommend you to his family and friends. With social media, he'll still recommend you to his family and friends, but online, those recommendations can now be seen by so many more people. If the average Facebook user has 130 friends, that's potentially 130 people who will see those recommendations. And if your business has a social media presence, you can tap into that wider audience. So if someone mentions your business or your product or service you offer, you can find out about that straight away and respond to it. It suddenly gives you access to a whole new market that you probably couldn't reach before.
Right.
And yeah.
Are you saying that for businesses then, we really need to be actually taking part in some form of social media? Is that the general what you're saying there? Yeah?
Yes. I think if you don't take advantage of social media, your competitors definitely will. And for smaller businesses, it puts you on the same playing field as the large global companies. Whereas before, small businesses can't really afford to advertise to mass audiences on TV, but with social media, you've got the same access to everybody. And if you're a small local company who thinks they've got all the customers they can handle and you don't need to reach any more people, I think most businesses can find some way of generating a passive income using social media, and you can start to build yourself or your company as the go-to person for that product or service.
Right. So do you think so when we say what is social media by definition, are you saying it's a new method to market that we should all be aware of, so that we can reach more people and become the perceived expert? Do you think it's easy to do that?
It is. It's a promotional tool. I mean, back in the early 80s, I used to be a media assistant for an advertising agency. And media then, things like television, radio, newspaper, magazines, communication tools that were used to send out information and advertising messages to the public. But on the whole, they're one-way communication tools. People can, read, watch or listen to whatever you're saying, but they had no real way of interacting or responding to it. It's people have always been, we're all social creatures. So if you watch a TV program or you read a news item, you like to talk about it with your friends, whether that's down the pub or in, somebody else's house or on the phone. So when the internet came along, it opened up like a whole new way of communicating. Suddenly we had access to information and a lot more people in a way that we'd never had. Internet chat rooms where you could talk to people in other countries about your hobbies and what was going on in the world. So when sites like MySpace and Facebook came along, not only could you chat to all these different people, but you could even start to share photos and videos with them. These new media tools were all about socializing and sharing information. So businesses started to think to themselves, hang on a minute, our audiences are now spending more time on social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and less time watching TV and reading newspapers. And they thought, well, we need to be where our customers are. But it's no longer about one-way communication. the customers can now talk back, so businesses have to become more social in their approach to their marketing.
Right. I mean, that's an interesting point when you mention new sites like MySpace and Facebook. My father-in-law's 78, Karen, and he's on Facebook now sharing pictures with army friends he hasn't seen for like 20 and 30 and 40 years in some cases, which is just unbelievable for somebody at that age, and it just goes to show how the appeal and the reach is just massive, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think people think it's all just kids, you know, on Facebook, but I think the biggest growing participants of social media is the 35 to 54 age group.
Right.
Which is
that's the biggest,
which
that's
is
the biggest
interesting.
growing groups.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not just kids, as you say.
No, it isn't.
So, if it was important, I mean, how do your clients or your the people, your customers, how do they typically get started on social media? Like, is there a step-by-step,
Yeah, well, I always say there's three parts to social media marketing. Firstly, you need to know why you're using social media, you know, what it is that you want to achieve through it. So a company really needs to think about their business objectives. For example, if you decide that you want to increase your turnover by 30% by the end of this year, you need to think about how you're exactly going to do that. You might have a combination of marketing, you know, tactics. You might decide that you will increase prices. You could decide that you want to introduce new products or services. You may decide that you'll achieve that by reaching new customers. Well, how can social media help you do that? That's the first thing. Then you need to know who your typical customer is, so you can find out which social media sites they're using, because some sites might be more appropriate than others. And then what does the customer want to hear from you? It's not, again, like I said, it's not about the advertising message. It's not about you and your company. It's about what the customer wants. It's about what they're interested in. And then thirdly, you need to know how to use the social media sites. So you need to be able to find your way around Twitter, Facebook or LinkedIn. And I put the social media sites bit last because they change on a regular basis. 5 years ago it was MySpace. Now MySpace is on its way out. Facebook is the big thing. Google Plus is becoming popular recently, but in 5 years' time it could be something completely different. The tools are always going to change, but the principles of how you use social media to market your business will always stay the same. It's not about advertising, it's about building relationships.
Right, so you mentioned three things there. So the first one was why you're using it. The second was who's your typical customer, and the third was how to use the social media sites. On the second point there, Karen, you said that some sites may be more useful than others.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well,
you talked about who's your typical customer.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a bit further?
Yeah, LinkedIn is primarily a professional business network. So you're not, if you're a company that's consumer products to sell directly to consumers, LinkedIn probably isn't, the best place for you to be. But Facebook is, because there's 800 million people on there using it personally. Twitter is a mixture of business and personal, so you need to get on, have a look on the sites and see where your existing customers are, see if they're on any of those sites, and typically, other customers will be.
Right. So you can try to match the medium to the type of customers that the customer.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Then. So that makes a bit more sense. So that's a case of looking at who is your ideal customer. So, and that's why you said you need that, and then choose the actual best social media site.
Yes.
The ones that they use more often.
Yes.
So if you've got various products, then you could argue that sometimes it could be one type of site for one product, and then another site for different. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Okay then. Okay. So, and what's your views on Google Plus? I mean, you mentioned that now it's Facebook. It seems hard to believe that anything can take over from Facebook. So it just seems to be absolutely just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, isn't it?
Well, Google Plus is pretty new. I think it's only been around about 6 months or so. And all of the big companies, all of the big corporates have got business pages on Google Plus now. But I think for the smaller businesses, I don't think they're moving over to Google Plus so much yet. And I think, to be honest, I would give it a little bit of time to let it settle down and see where it's going.
I mean, you can't deny the size of Google. It's just enormous, isn't it?
It is. It is.
YouTube as well. So I mean,
Yeah.
it is massive. But Facebook seems to be. It was interesting when you were saying about knowing your customer. I did some analysis recently, looking at potentially promoting a product on Facebook, and I had some help from someone who showed me about the Facebook, how they'd use it to use Facebook ads, you know,
Yeah.
and how you can put in the age range, how you can put in where they're based, if they're male, female, are they married or
Yeah.
not, what their likes are, and if you're trying to target an audience, I was actually amazed how it narrowed it right down to sort of 4,000 people
Yeah.
in the UK and the USA for who I thought would be ideal for this certain product I was going to release, you know. And you just couldn't do that anywhere else, could you? You couldn't get that targeted.
Facebook ads is a fantastic tool. I mean, you can target your audience reach down to specific books that people are reading. I mean, it's a brilliant tool.
And to be honest, Karen, I didn't realise this. I met somebody recently who used Facebook ads purely to increase the likes on their
Yes.
Facebook business
Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
So they had a very small budget of £5 a day, but they quickly got up to 750 likes, which is great for a
I
business.
think Facebook ads work better when you're not trying to sell something. People aren't sitting on Facebook with with their credit cards out. So if you use the ads to do something like that, to increase likes or to drive people to a page where they can download something free, you're going to have a lot more success with it.
rather than just a pure selling type
Yeah.
of trading.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that sounds good. So let's say people get what you're saying, and I know it's obviously a huge growth area, and we now know kind of what the topic and why it's so important. We know what it is by definition, and you've mentioned how people get started. Looking at the three parts there, what if the listeners to this webinar got started today? What could their lives look like in say 90 days or I nearly said 90 years there, 90 days or a year or so from now? I mean, what sort of successes could they get?
Well, social, like I said, social media marketing, you're not going to be successful at it overnight. You can't just throw up a page and expect to get customers from it. It takes time, so you have to have a proper plan and be consistent for at least 90 days before you would start seeing real results. You might get the odd customer, but if you want proper results, I would give it at least 90 days. The more effort you put in, the more you're going to get out. I know someone who started using Facebook in August 2010, and in April 2011 she launched an online membership site. Within 7 days of launching that, she'd taken over $100,000. In just 18 months, she'd built a Facebook fan base over 2 pages of nearly 31,000. And she'd built an email list of 17,500 people. 17,500 people who were obviously interested in what she did because they'd put their email address in to download free stuff she was giving away. So she built that database up that she could then promote more things to, which was obviously a membership site. And she now, after 18 months, has over 1,000 members paying to use that membership site. It's $38 a month each. I mean that's just $38 a month. Sorry, I mean that's
1,000 people.
Yeah, I mean that's massive. But what it's allowed her to do is she wanted to build an online business where she could work from anywhere in the world, so she could travel with her family. I mean she's currently in Thailand, and later in the year she's going to New Zealand, and she put a lot of hard work into it, but in 18 months, to build that kind of business, it's just phenomenal.
So
and
I mean, I'm getting my calculator. So $38, and it's 1,017. Obviously, not nearly 38 grand, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
it's just short of £39,000 a month. $39,000 a month.
Yeah.
In 18 months, she launched that, which is nearly a £500,000 a year business.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 18 months. I mean, that's incredible. That.
And it doesn't, it's not just, online businesses that it'll work for. If you put the work into it and the effort into it, it can work for any business.
I was following a guy called Frank Kern. Karen, have you heard of him?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, well, he used social media to launch his first product. He's very, very good at net marketing, and he used social media and obviously built his list. And his first product turned over in the first 4 hours $1.4 million on an online program. using
amazing.
social media to reach that many people. So I mean, the results can be fantastic.
Yeah, because
Now,
you build up that reputation online, you know, by giving people you know, free and information that they can use. You're not constantly, you know, saying buy this, buy this. You're giving them things that they can use, building the relationship online, you know, communicating, talking to people. So eventually, when you do have something to sell, it's really a no-brainer. They want it.
so looking at going back to this person you mentioned who started in August 2010. By April, you said I think 2011. So
Yeah.
what's that? The best part of for about 8 to 10 months or so.
Yes, yeah. And she
So
actually
is that
knew
what
nothing
she was
about.
doing for that period?
She actually knew nothing about Facebook when she started in August. So between August and April, she was learning about Facebook and building up like fans and you know, engaging with people.
Unbelievable, massive. Well, that's good. Now that sounds very good. I assume, like most new things, if this is, there'd be kind of some sort of roadblocks and obstacles and stuff. So, do you know what the would be, say, the specific roadblocks or obstacles that sort of typically prevent people from getting started in this area?
Yeah, there's probably, I would say, three main roadblocks that people seem to come across. A lot of businesses are worried that if they have a social media presence, they'll get negative comments. That's one. The second one is I hear a lot of people say social media doesn't work for us. You know, our customers aren't on social media sites. And the other more popular one is people have said, people have told them that they need to be on Twitter and Facebook, so they set an account up and then they don't know what to do with it. They'll tweet a couple of things or they'll post a couple of things. They don't get anything from it, so they'll decide, oh, it's not working for me. So those are probably the three main problems.
So you would say that businesses are afraid
Yeah.
because they get some negative feedback.
Negative,
You're saying
yeah.
that people thinking that it won't work for their type of business.
Yeah.
Because the customers aren't on there, and they're also saying that people said they need to be on Facebook, Twitter, so they can get an account and know what to do, etc.
Yes, yes.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. I mean, I heard a story a while ago, Karen, of a restaurant in Sunderland that he'll remain nameless, but a professional footballer went into the restaurant and was derogatory because he couldn't get served straight away for some food. And then the restaurant saw the comment on Facebook and replied by saying, well, you hadn't had a reservation, we were full, and you know, the restaurant's a very busy restaurant and we're not going to just push someone in front of everybody else because you happen to be a professional footballer. A lot of people got hold of that through Facebook, so it totally backfired on the footballer, who then had to formally apologise, saying that he was hungry and he just, you know, didn't want any special treatment. But
Yeah.
it was interesting how the company was able to respond because they were on. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
they were obviously watching, you know, trends and threads that involve their business. You know?
Yes,
So in
yes.
that way, they actually totally turned the situation around. You know.
Yes.
Which was excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're the three main things. So with those things in mind, then, what sort of would you say are the key strategies to unlock those roadblocks and obstacles that are getting in the way?
Well, the first one with negativity that you were just talking about, I mean, if you know, if you're worried that setting up a social media profile is going to bring you negative comments from your customers, then really, whether you're on social media sites or not, your customers are probably talking about you. So if you haven't got a social media presence, you can't hear what they're saying about you, and most importantly, you can't address any complaints you might be getting. So this restaurant that you mentioned were obviously on social media and they were saying these things, so they could address it immediately. So if a company gets a negative comment, the way you handle it could actually boost your reputation. If you reply publicly, you know, that you're sorry they feel this way or that this has happened to them, ask them to email you privately with their phone number so you can ring them and start to put things right. It shows you care about your customers, whereas if you're not on social media and they're saying negative things and you're not seeing them and not responding, it might just look like you don't care.
Right, so the first thing there you're saying is use it as a way to actually interact when you have a negative comment, how to turn it around and respond.
Yes, a lot of big companies use it for customer service.
Right. So they actually, yeah, okay. Then.
Yeah.
Because if people are saying things negatively about your business because your service isn't right, or your stock levels aren't right, or the client experience wasn't right. You know, you could be a bit naive by just sticking your head in the sand, thinking, I don't want to know about that, but really, you need to know about that, don't you?
Yes, yeah. Well,
You need to put
I'm
that
sure if
right.
people weren't happy with my business, I would want to know why, so I could
Yes,
try and put it right.
right.
Yeah.
Okay then. So the first thing is that then, right? So what would you say was another one?
The second thing where people say, you know, social media doesn't work for us, our customers aren't on there. I mean, have they actually looked to see if they are? If your customers are businesses, it's possible that they're not on Facebook as a business, but you know, businesses are run by people, and it's highly likely that some of those people are using Facebook for socializing, you know, so they will be on there. There's lots of unusual industries using social media sites really well and profiting from them. Everything from horse dentists to companies who provide software for the shipping industry are doing really well. There's actually a site called socialmention.com where you
All
can
right.
type in specific keywords, and it'll search over 70 different social media sites. You can take a look through the results and you can see exactly what's being talked about and who's talking about it. You might actually be surprised at the type of people who are on them.
Right, so thinking about that then, so if I was looking at, say, for me, I think I'm interested in business success. So could I go on socialmedia.com, type that in,
Socialmention.com.
sorry, socialmention.com.
Yeah.
I can go to socialmention.com and I can type in business success, or, I mean, I know some of the guys that are registered here, we mentioned Tosh before, so, you know, he could have some sort of keywords to do with his business, and he could go on there and then it would tell you who's talking about that, and then would you be able to then start, I don't know, following them on Twitter or something, or trying to connect with them?
If you have an account on Twitter, yeah. But I think the thing to remember as well about the keywords that you put in, don't just think about keywords that are relevant to your business. If you're specifically looking for, say if you're looking for dentists as clients and you don't know if they're on social media sites, think of the keywords the dentists might use if they were tweeting things or posting things on Facebook, you know, things to do with their industry. Yeah, look, use those kinds of keywords to find out if they're on there.
Right. Okay then. I mean, that could be quite a funny exercise.
It could.
Depending on the type of whoever your customer is. Right. Okay then. So you can go in there and that'll actually search out all different social media sites, and then you'll be able to
see
start
which ones they're on. Yeah.
Yes. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I've got that one. Is there anything else?
The third one, the fact that people say, oh, you should be on Twitter, you should be on Facebook, and they just set their account up without any thought, and then they don't actually know what to do with it. If you want to set an account up, if you want to use social media, get some professional advice from someone who knows what they're doing. Take a beginner's workshop. Let somebody who knows, what about social media show you how to use it properly. If you put together a detailed plan of what you're actually going to do with it, then when you get on it, it makes it so much easier. You'll know exactly what you're going to do on a day-to-day basis, and give it at least 3 months consistent effort before you decide it doesn't work for you.
Right, because you see that point there at the end, I've heard people in networking, I go to a lot of networking, I often hear people talking about social media marketing, and I think probably they're expecting a result straight away. And I think, to be honest, this social media marketing, from what I understand, from what you're saying, then it's like anything else, isn't it? One of your strategies. I don't think you're going to use it straight away and get an instant result.
Yeah.
You might get lucky, but I think sometimes people are possibly wanting to get a result too quick. Would that be
Well, it's like offline networking. I mean, if you go to offline networking meetings, you don't expect to walk in on the first meeting, tell somebody, what you do or what you sell, and get customers straight away. It takes time to get to know people and build up relationships, and then, they get to know, like, and trust you. And social media is no different.
Yeah, because going back to that previous example you had, Karen, where you mentioned that lady who built a business on Facebook, that is about a good 8-month strategy, isn't it, before she launched her online membership site, whatever that was.
Yeah.
But she was obviously giving away and building relationships and giving content and things.
Yeah.
That wasn't for that.
In testing and measuring things, trying things, and if that didn't seem to be working, then there's ways to measure things like that and try something different if it doesn't work.
Right. Okay. One thing I don't know that I don't recall that we've mentioned is that we have got a facility for answering questions. So one of the benefits of GoToWebinar is that you can actually ask a question, and I believe, Karen, that shows up in your panel. Is that
yes,
right?
Yes.
Right. So the only question we've got so far was, can it hear you? Which was at the very beginning. So if anyone out there is what we're covering, I should have mentioned this earlier possibly, but if anybody out there that's listening has a specific question, then we are able to answer that. Okay, so I just thought I'd mention that. So going back to the sort of strategy you're talking there, so these are the sort of things you're saying that they need to do then to get going, that the roadblocks you've identified, and you're saying that you don't have to worry about getting the negative comments. You're saying you can open the whole thing up.
Yes.
And obviously by interacting with people, then obviously that's going to help people straight away. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay then, right. And you're mentioning social media sites, socialmention.com.
Yeah.
Then that's a good strategy to get as well. And you're saying to get an account set up. I mean, how easy is it to set an account up? Is it quite straightforward, or?
To set the actual account up itself is fairly straightforward, but with all social media sites have a similar thing going through them, which is your profile, where you can put information and details in about your business and what you do. And I think it takes some time to get the profiles right first. So, when you're describing your business, make sure you've got some keywords in there. So if people are searching for your particular service or product online, then your social media profiles are likely to show up in that.
Right. So are you saying you have to spend a lot of time getting your profile right?
Yeah, I think you should.
I mean, I know guys that have just gone on straight away, and when I look at it, they, like LinkedIn, for example. Mm-hmm. I use LinkedIn a fair bit, and there's quite a few people still that when you look on their site, they don't have a full profile. So
yes.
They don't have referrals or recommendations. Or,
yeah.
They haven't really put much information in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's important to get that right then?
I do, yeah. And so you've mentioned LinkedIn, and I think one of the things that, one of the most important things on LinkedIn that people seem to neglect is the summary section, which is underneath the box that says, you've got 15 recommendations and 400 connections. Underneath that is a summary box. That's your space to tell people what you can do, why you're the best person for the job, and people neglect it.
Right, okay then. So the things in there you think should be information that's going to help somebody who's looking at it. I mean, obviously what it is, isn't it? Summary of what you do in that. Mm-hmm. But you think a lot of people neglect that, yeah?
Yes, that's where you can, tell everybody how brilliant you are and why you are. Because all social media, well, most social media profiles are indexed by Google. So anybody searching in Google for, particular things that you might offer, your social media profiles are highly likely to come up before even your website does.
Right. So if you do a good job in the summary and you have a presence on social media, that does help people find you as well.
Much easier to find you. Yeah.
Right. I didn't know that. Actually, I didn't know that. Okay then. So I mean, you mentioned LinkedIn there. Obviously, well, I mentioned LinkedIn in terms of what I use.
Yeah.
What about your profile in say Twitter or something? Can you do anything with that?
The profile on Twitter is much simpler. It's called the bio, and you only get 160 characters to do it in. So you have to be a little bit more creative with that. Get a couple of keywords in there, say something really specific about what your business does. A bit like your 60 seconds at the networking meeting, really, be very concise and to the point so people know immediately what it is you do. Some businesses like to put in a couple of little personal things about them as well, because people like to do business with people, not companies. So it's nice to hear a little bit about the person behind the business. For instance, my Twitter bio has got something about us being a social media consultant, but it's also got the fact that I'm a member of Toastmasters and that I love cats. It just makes people connect a little bit more with you.
Is that the animal or the
the animal?
or the musical? I have 2 young daughters and I've had to watch that a few times actually. So, right, okay then.
So your Twitter bio is, yeah.
Your Twitter bio is that. What about
it's much easier.
How can you get, what can you do on Facebook to get people to know exactly what you're about?
Facebook is the information section in your Facebook business page. There's a part in there where you can say something. There's a little bit that says about. So whatever you put on there in that bit actually shows up on your Facebook page itself that people can see straight away. Again, that's a bit like your 60 seconds, to tell people precisely what you're about. There's also a description box in the information section that you can again use keywords in, describe your business properly. When you set your Facebook page up, you choose that you select that you're a local company, say you're a restaurant or something that's got a physical premises that people can visit. You'll actually get an option to put your open times and closing times in there and a little bit more information like that.
Right, okay then. So you see, I've done a little bit with that, but I don't think, listen to what you're saying now, I don't think I put enough information on there. I think I'm concentrating on the LinkedIn side of things, but I think as far as the Facebook, I could do something in that area,
Yeah, a lot of people neglect the profiles. They'll concentrate on building followers or getting likes, and I think they forget what they're actually there for. It's just to promote themselves, really. And your profiles are the best place to actually say what your business is about and what you do.
Right. Now, I've had a couple of questions emailed to me. Can I ask you just a couple of questions?
Yeah.
Okay. One of them is in relation to Twitter, and the guy he's saying that his followers and who he's following is growing quite quickly, but at the moment he's finding it hard to see people's tweets because obviously once he gets up to 600 followers, who he's following rather, there's tweets up all the time. How can you organise so you can try and see certain people?
In Twitter they have a great little thing called lists. So if, say for instance, you've got 600 followers, and for me, for example, I follow quite a few virtual assistants. So what I've done is I've created a specific list in Twitter called virtual assistants, and anybody I follow who is a virtual assistant I put into that list. So if I only want to see what they're saying, then I just click on that specific list, and the only tweets I'll see are the ones from virtual assistants.
Ah, right. So, right, okay then. So in my business, could I do that with clients then? So if I follow clients, I could have a client list.
Yeah, you can have as many lists as you want.
Ah, right. And then when you're on Twitter, this is my own bit now. When you're on Twitter and I'm looking at like where it's got lists, does that mean if I'm on one list, does that mean I'm on one person's list? Is that what that means?
Explain that to us again.
When I look on when I go on Twitter, and it's got one of my little headings. It's got lists and it says one. Does that mean I'm on one?
You've been put into one person, one list. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So if the number was 50, you're on 50 different lists.
Right. Did I say 50? I meant 100. It says 100 lists.
It's actually a good sign if you look at somebody's Twitter profile and they're on a lot of lists. It means they're quite popular.
Well, obviously, clearly from that comment, I'm not. So never mind. Okay. Right. The other question I've got from another guy is to do with LinkedIn. Can I ask that one as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. This guy's asking about. He's saying that he has got some contacts on LinkedIn and they are using a branded photograph of their business as opposed to like a person. Now he's got he's got his own photograph, like a physical of him physically.
Yes.
But he says that some of these connections he's seeing have got the branding. He says, should he do that or should he stick with the photograph?
If you're on LinkedIn as a person, well, you are on LinkedIn as a person. Your LinkedIn profile is about you, not your company. So it's more advisable to have a picture of you on it. So if people have met you at networking events and then they're searching for you on, and you come across your profile, if it's a logo, there may be a couple of people with the same name and they won't recognize it. So if you've got a photo of you on, you're easily recognizable. You can have a company profile on LinkedIn as well as your personal profile, where you can just promote your company and have your logo on that. But for your ordinary LinkedIn profile, it should really be a photo of yourself, a nice head and shoulders shot, very professional, not something that where you were on the beach on your holidays last year.
Yes, well, I think when I look closer at the one that we're using for this, you can tell that my wife's taken that photograph, because if you look really close with my glasses, you can see the flashes reflected in the lenses. So it's not massively professional, that one, But at least I've had a clean shave, so at least that's something. Okay, then. So that was just one of the guys that went through there, and there's another guy got a question through on Facebook, and he's saying that he finds it. Does he have to update? He's got a personal page on Facebook, and he's also got a business page, and he's concerned that when he's updating his personal page, it's not going to his business page, and he's just thinking, should he be updating both on a regular basis, or should he just be doing his business page? So basically what he's saying is he's got a personal profile, which people see him for networking, but he's also got a business page, and what should he be doing? Should he be updating both at the same mix, or what?
Well, yeah, your personal profile on Facebook and your business page on Facebook are completely separate. So if you update your personal profile, it's only going to be seen by people you've added as friends. If you update a business page, it'll be seen by people who have liked your page. A lot of people like to keep their personal profile personal, just for friends and family. And if you, if you want to do that, that's fine, and just concentrate on the business page. Some people, especially now that Facebook have introduced something called subscriptions, where at one time you could only have 5,000 friends on your personal profile. If you activate the subscriptions tool, you can have a lot more people subscribe to your personal profile who will also see your updates. So that it's a really good tool for people who want to be public figures, and where people want to know a little bit more about the person behind the business. They're always interested in things like that. So if you were a public figure, then the personal profile is probably the one to concentrate on, whereas a business page, may be better, for just businesses to concentrate on.
Right. Okay then. And thinking about what we've already talked about in terms of where we've looked at why is the social media so important, and what it is, and how do people get started, and what it would look like if they did, etc. What would you say was the first physical action you'd like our listeners to take right now? Is there anything they can do to get started, or to do, or whatever?
Well, if any of our listeners are in the Newcastle upon Tyne area, I'm actually running some complimentary 60-minute taster sessions to give them a flavour of the 6-week social media success programme that I've developed. So if at the end of the taster session, if they decided the programme's not for them, they would have at least the basis of the 6 steps that they could take away and get them started with.
Right. So these are 6 steps that you've identified to get people started on social media, and you're doing complimentary sessions to give people a taste. Is that the idea?
Yes.
Right. Okay then. And I mean, obviously, Newcastle is almost a cultural centre, but if they don't live in the Newcastle area, what else can they do?
If they're not in the Newcastle upon Tyne area, they can email me at karen@cloudva.co.uk. And I'll send them some details of the upcoming webinar version of the taster session and the online version of the 6-week social media success program.
Right. So they don't have to come to Newcastle to do the program. They could do it
They'll
online.
be able to do it online. Yeah.
And then, so let's just say that they do the program online. What sort of benefits would they get, or what would be? Because obviously people's going to want to know kind of, what it would, what would happen after the 6-week program? Well,
but by the end of the 6-week program, they will have at least a 1-month social media plan that they can go away and put into action. They'll know
Right.
sort of day by day on a weekly basis for 4 weeks what they've got to do.
And if they follow those steps, they obviously will be making huge progress with their social media stuff, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Right.
Hopefully.
Good. Hopefully, that's the idea. Well, yeah, that's the idea. Good. Okay then.
I've just noticed there's a question from Ford in the question box here.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
Worried about how much time it could soak up. Any thoughts?
Right.
Again, if you put a lot of thought into planning your social media strategy before you get started, in the long run that will save a lot of time. But there are ways and means of saving even more time with it. For instance, there's something called Hootsuite, which is used as a scheduling tool. So for instance, you could sit down on a Friday morning for half an hour or an hour and schedule some tweets and posts to go out at specific times over the next fortnight. So you could do that all in one hour session.
And you can do that for 2 weeks in advance?
You could do it for a month in advance if you wanted to. You could pick exactly what time you wanted it to go out and exactly what day you wanted it to go out on.
Oh, right.
So there is tool.
I've never used Hootsuite before.
Yeah, but I think you can get carried away on social media. If you're sitting there and you've got no plan of what you're doing it. So again, if you've taken some time to work out a proper plan, it really helps. There was one other thing I was going to mention. It's gone straight out of my head. No, it's completely gone.
What, a way of saving time, you mean?
Yeah, and I've completely forgotten what it was.
Oh, we'll come back to that. So that was.
Oh yes, I was going to say
what?
people think they have to be sat in front of the social media for like 6-7 hours a day. You can actually carry out a really good social media strategy in probably 2 to 3 hours a week if you've planned it properly first.
So 2 or 3 hours a week. And to be honest, we do. I mean, I don't watch television. I don't have a television, but there's a lot of things that take our time, don't they? So if you're looking at just trying to get, 2 or 3 hours in a whole week, it might seem a bit, but of course that's only really sort of 20-30 minutes a day, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, you see a lot of people, using Twitter and Facebook on their mobile phones, and every time a tweet or a post comes in, that they're constantly reacting to it. Personally, I don't actually use a mobile phone for social media at all. So then I can stick to set times. I can say, right, this is the time when I'm going to do my social media marketing, and not be constantly having to worry about it.
Right. Okay then. So you're suggesting that one of the ways is to use Hootsuite and schedule some of the stuff in a proactive way, and you can go up to a month in advance.
Yeah, and that saves an awful lot of time. So you can be scheduling, links to your own blog posts that you've written, links to articles on the internet, and then that's already done and you've got it set up, and then you can spend maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day going into LinkedIn or Twitter and Facebook and replying to comments that you're getting, doing some searches to find questions to answer, things like that.
Ah, right. Okay, because I've never done that. So you're looking for questions and then actually physically answering them in Twitter.
Yes.
And directing people to a blog where you might put your take on something.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I think for Ford's businesses and Ford Henderson Marketing, that's actually a very good strategy, isn't it? Because of course Ford could look at marketing challenges and then answer those through Twitter, directing people to his site, his website, his blog, couldn't he?
Definitely. Yeah.
Right. That's good. Can I ask one of my questions, Karen?
You can go ahead.
I know you always worry, in case someone else is really. It's dead easy this, but I often see people, if I follow them on Twitter and I see them on Twitter, then they tend to use the same comment exactly on Facebook.
Yes.
And I don't know what your view is on that. I don't think that's a good idea, but I don't know what the official kind of is.
There is an option on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook and probably other social media sites as well, where you can link your accounts together. So for instance, if you post something on Twitter, it then goes straight onto your LinkedIn account. Personally, I don't advise that you do this, Twitter and especially Twitter and LinkedIn are completely different sites. Like I said, LinkedIn, purely business, very professional. Twitter is a mix. So if you put something, for instance, this chap that I know actually swore in a tweet and it went straight onto his LinkedIn account, and he got a lot of complaints about it. And not only that, but if you've got people that are following you on Twitter that are also, liking your Facebook page, and you've got the same comments on both, then they're saying the same thing twice. And to me that just says, oh well, you haven't really put any thought into what you're doing.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I've seen it. Yes, I've seen it a few times on Facebook, and it's obvious that they've got the two links together.
Yes.
And it does look a little as if they're sort of kind of cutting corners.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I get it.
I think that's sometimes why scheduling tools get a bad name, because they think that's what you do with them. Schedule the same post to go out on everything. But with Hootsuite, you can schedule different things to go out on different platforms, on different sites.
What do you mean different sites?
Well, on Hootsuite, you can download your Twitter account, you can download your LinkedIn account, you can download your Facebook account, all into the Hootsuite platform. So you can.
That was just Twitter.
No, it's for most social media sites. So you can schedule you can schedule tweets, and then you can tick that you just want them to go to Twitter. You can schedule Facebook posts and tick that you just want them to go to Facebook. So you can do what you want within Hootsuite. You can practically run your social media marketing campaign from Hootsuite.
And how much is Hootsuite?
It's free. There is a professional version, I think, that costs you something like $6 a month. But to be honest, I've only ever used the free version.
So the free version, and you can manage, the main ones I would look at is Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn.
You can manage those all from the Hootsuite. Yeah.
I've never done that before. I always go in manually each time.
Yeah.
And like Ford, I think I am sometimes concerned about how much time I'll spend, so I'm probably not doing enough of that. But of course, if that's the strategy for managing it,
yeah,
then I would get some benefit from that.
There's also something called TweetDeck, which is very similar to Hootsuite. It's just I've never actually used TweetDeck. I use Hootsuite, so that's the one I recommend people use.
Okay, so that's great, Karen. Now you've told us what we can do. The first physical action is to email you about that taster, if that's what people want to do. I got a copy of your book a while ago.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yes, I did, and it's actually I've got a signed copy, which is great. So it'll be worth more money when I sell it. And I'm just wondering, is anything else happening? I've got the hardback copy. I know you were trying to get something done as far as the ebook version. Is there anything happening with that? Or?
Yes, I did actually send it to a publishing company. The first publishing company I sent it to came back to us within a week and said they would be really pleased to publish it as an ebook. So from the 5th of March, it will be available as a sort of Kindle download ebook thing on Amazon, Waterstones, Apple Store, and something called Kobo, which I think is similar to a Kindle. So yeah, that's the 5th of March it will be available.
So 5th of March. So if somebody wants to look for that on the 5th of March, if they go to Amazon, what's it called?
It's called 300. It's 365 social media tips.
Oh, so it's exactly
It's the same title, yes.
Right. So I want to just make a comment here, because I do a lot of reading, and I've read the 64 Success Principles by Jack Canfield, and in there he talks about his book, which was the Chicken Soup for the Soul stuff.
Yes.
And he had to send that to about 65 publishers before they even took it on board, and it went on to be a massive success. But he actually had to send it to loads and loads of publishers.
Yeah.
So like, how did the first publisher take it on board? That's very unusual, isn't it?
I don't know. I was really amazed, but it's something that I haven't really seen anything quite like it. It's one practical tip. It sort of says, I haven't got it to hand actually to give you an example, but it'll tell you how to what to do, and then actually tell you how to do it.
Yes. I noticed some of the ones I was reading was about trying to get your domain on LinkedIn. It was telling you how to do that.
Right.
As opposed to just like, just having a general one that they give you, how you can actually go into the settings and manage it and all this sort of jazz. So yes, I mean, it's very easy to read, and it is just, like I say, 1 tip per day.
Yeah, yeah.
So if somebody wants to look at that, 5th of March, that'll be available on...
It'll be available on Amazon, Waterstones, Apple Store. Yeah.
And on the 5th of March, are you going to log on in the morning at about 7 o'clock in the morning to see your book on Amazon?
I am. I can't wait to see it on Amazon.
That's a very, very good achievement, isn't it?
It is, it is.
You've done well with that. Excellent, great. Well, is there any more questions? I think we're nearly on the hour. It's nearly 4 o'clock. So do you have any more questions on that panel, Karen? Is there?
No, I can't see any more questions.
Excellent, right. So to recap then, we've covered why is it so important, social media. We've covered what it is by definition. You've told us about how people typically get started and what could look like, and you mentioned that great example of someone who in a matter of 8 months built a very, very successful business on the back of Facebook, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
We've identified what the specific roadblocks are and what the key strategies are to unlock those. And then the first physical actions you said was you've got taster sessions, or if somebody wants to get the webinar, the taster session, they can email you. And is that your details on the screen there now where they can contact you?
It is, yes. Yeah.
Right, excellent. Great. Right, well, thank you very much for your time, Karen.
Thank you, Peter. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, good, right. Well, I think you probably have to close the webinar down.
Okay.
So thank you very much, and thanks for people listening. And I know there's quite a few guys that have registered who couldn't be on and have asked for the recording, so we'll when we work out what the jiggery poke is in terms of the technical side, we'll get that organised as well.
Yeah, the recording will be available later tonight.